Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Edward Einhorn. I'm the artistic director of the Rehearsal for Truth International Theater Festival, which is presented by the Václav Havel Center and the Bohemian Benevolent and Literary Association. And we're very excited to be working with the Voyage Theater Company for the first time this year, but hopefully in many years to come. So thank you so much for joining. And want to also mention that New York City Department of Cultural Affairs via the Immigrant Initiative is supporting this reading series as a whole. Of course, there'll be upcoming readings. There's going to be a week from now something called Hitler's President. It's a Slovakian piece about President Tiso during World War II. There is a piece called Vaniak 2026, which is the first time that we are ever commissioning new pieces. These are all short one-acts in the using the character Ferdinand Vaniak, who was Havel's signature character. And it would have been Havel's 90th birthday this year in October. And so in honor of that, we've asked playwrights who have worked with us in the past to create new one-acts using Vaniak or a version of Vaniak in the modern day as part of that. So we have someone from Belarus, Czechia, Lithuania, Romania, and the US. And then also coming up is a fundraiser called A Taste of Central European Theater, which will be full of like acts that we've done before and we'll be doing in the future, and also lots of food and drink. So come join us for the fundraiser. That's the one thing that's going to be at Hungarian House, which is about 10 blocks north. This evening we're going to have Antonina, which is actually two pieces. One is, the second piece is going to be a play called Antonina by, and I'm going to hopefully pronounce this close to correct, Tatiana Kitsenko. I'm sorry, was that correct? Yeah, okay. And that is about a soldier, non-binary soldier, named Antonina. And then the first piece we're going to be seeing is a piece by Antonina himself, Text for Theater. So that's going to be 20 minutes. Then there's going to be just a slight transition. We're not going to have a full break. And then there's going to be the play Antonina, which will be a little less than an hour. And then afterward, if you can stay around for a little bit, we're going to chat with the directors and cast about the whole thing. So we'd love to have you stay for all of it. That's about it. Once again, thank you for coming and enjoy the show.
A word. First word. I don't know what my first word was. I don't remember. I've been mama or gimme. Do you know what your first word was? No? That's okay. You? No. I wonder if our first word shapes our future personality. Every text for theater has its own first word. It's very important. I want the first words of this piece to be thank you. Although I guess formally they're no longer the first one. we'll let it stand. So, thank you. Thank you for coming. Truly, thank you very much. You spent your time and your resources to come hear this text for theater. That means a lot to me. I'm feeling a lot of gratitude right now. It's the driving force behind my writing this piece. I know that sounds kind of like therapy speak, but I don't know how many of you are here right now. I really hope this text isn't being read to like a mostly empty hall, although there's nothing terrible about that. I mean, even if it is, I cherish everyone who's here. I don't know exactly who will perform this text, maybe which actor. I mean, though I want to give special thanks to them, it is you who will be the mediator between me and the people in attendance today. Thank you for your work. Actors really love applause. Thank you. But that's me thanking you. The actor will thank you after the performance when they come out for their bows. I would love to meet you all. If you would like that too, please tell me your names. If you want to remain anonymous, you can make up a name. I mean, this is a theater. You can be anyone here.
Michael.
Thank you.
Mary.
Lisa. Becky.
Freda.
Maria. Kathleen.
And
Thank you. It's a shame I didn't hear any of those names because I'm not here right now. But I hope you heard them. And maybe you'll remember some of them. My name is Antonina. I mean me, not the actor playing me. They have a different name, probably. I think it'd be proper to give them a chance to introduce themselves, right? Yeah. All right, then, Miss Actor, floor is yours. Hi, I'm Niccolò. I don't know what else to say. Thank you, Miss Actor. Generally speaking, I would like you to have a chance to talk with them more, maybe after the performance. Don't rush off after. You can linger if you have the opportunity and the desire, but one-on-one. As I see it, these after talks are often more interesting than the performance itself. However, this performance is already underway, and I am still here, and I still haven't even introduced myself properly. My name is Antonina. I am the person who authored this text. You might also say that I'm the person who wrote this play, a playwright, although in comparison to other playwrights who write plays and are very good at it, I consider myself an amateur. Moreover, I haven't even finished this play yet. This is my first play, and I'm still writing it, although since you're all here, I guess I finished it. Nevertheless, my pronouns are they, them, but I can't quite call myself a playwright. I mean, I can't even formulate this thought properly, like what to say about the play. I studied to be a director of mass public spectacle, like parades, festivals, political rallies. My classmates and I joked that we were directing mass public disasters. Later, I studied to be a director in the dramatic theater, and I staged several plays, although looking back, I would say I left much to be desired. I was a pretty mediocre director. On occasion, I worked as an actor, but I am an even worse actor than director. Still, I enjoyed the experience. I would never let myself read this text on stage. It would be a disaster. So once again, I'm very grateful to the actor reading this text. Someday, I may become a spectator, one of the people in the audience. Antonina, thoroughly run-of-the-mill theater spectator. I hope I'm definitely able to do it. It's a very important job. folks in the audience are a very important part of any theatrical process. They cannot be overestimated. It's a pity they're often underestimated. Now, at present, I'm neither a director, nor an actor, nor playwright, nor a spectator. Right now I'm a character. It happened by chance, but it happened a long time ago, around the time that the full-scale invasion began. I turned into a character. I joined the army on February 25th, 2022. There's an old Roman proverb: when cannons speak, the muses are silent. I thought there was no point in doing theater at that time. It felt like it would be denying objective reality. We must take up arms. It's funny, I didn't feel that way in 2014. I am a non-binary person. I am a mortar person. This rarely happens in the armed forces of Ukraine. So even while taking up combat positions, I have continued to make theater, but now as a character, a female character. This is possibly important too. Theater without characters is impossible, probably. I mean, all the men and women who are directors, and all the actors and actresses, and all the women and men who write plays or watch them in the audience can live without theater. They'll find something else. They'll find some way to console themselves, but characters, whatever their orientation may be, cannot exist without theater. At one time or another, you've all had something somewhere. I mean, after the show, you'll walk home, or you'll take a taxi, or take the subway. I'm a character in this performance. I only have the here and now. It's odd. You're the only ones here in this space at this time. I am the only one who is not here physically. Only I don't have any before or after. Only I won't be able to leave this room or hall. Only I don't have much time. I exist thanks to your presence, here and now. I've often thought about the here and now in the theater. In acting courses, they teach this here and now as part of stage presence. But in reality, in theater, I've almost never seen this here and now. I have watched actors playing other people who existed in another space and another time, and the folks in the audience were transported with them to those other places and times, and they watched people who never existed. This is the exact opposite of here and now. Thanks to this stage presence, I was forced to believe in the here and now. Sometimes I've accepted it, but it still wasn't true. Today, I want you and me to really be here and now. I want to bring up all the lights in the hall. Like, not just the theatrical spots, all the lights. Yeah. Please, look carefully at the space around us. Don't hurry. What is the width, the depth, the height, color of the walls, the floor, the ceiling, texture of the seats you're sitting on, sounds, smells, temperature, day of the week it is today, time, date, month, year. Look at each other. Look at all the people in this hall or room. Look into their eyes. Maybe you remember some of their names? You're all here together now. Here and now. You. Only I am not really here. And not now. I have my own here and now. As I write this text, I imagine all of you somewhere out there at some time. You're reading or listening to my text for the theater. You are there at some time, and I am here. It would be proper now to write about my here and now. For you, that is also a specific there and sometime. But this text is a bridge between us in time and space. This text is the point of intersection between the canons here and the muses there. I am here now. In a small foxhole on the outskirts of Shebnivka near the town of Toretsk is a basement beneath a bombed out house, 2 yards by 2.5, 6 feet high. We hammered together bunks from the boards we found in the house. We made mattresses, mold red blankets. We made a hinged table, the shelf from an empty mine box. We are a small mortar crew of 3. Mortar commander is Bat, service number is Raccoon, and I'm the gunner. Narrow covered tunnel leads from our trench to the combat position where a .82 caliber mortar is located. The mortar's not kept in position, but it's hidden in the foxhole along with the mines. Raccoon hauls it out every time we're given the command to commence firing and then takes it back down after receiving the command to take cover. Today is February 18th, 2025, Tuesday. It's 4:45 a.m. Raccoon and Bat are asleep. At their feet sleep 2 kittens who have adopted our foxhole. Kittens hate each other. They love us. Maybe they just like to eat where it's warm. 2 soldiers snort and snore. Kittens purr and hiss at each other. Today we had 2 resets. Starlink was destroyed. We're now without internet, only a walkie-talkie. It's an excellent time to write a text for the theater. Outside, enemy artillery comes and goes from time to time. We're shooting about 300 to 400 meters from us. Enemy Mavic drone hangs above our heads all the time, so we lay low. Starting today, we've been pooping in a blue bag without leaving the foxhole. We do our thing in a narrow covered trench. There aren't many bags, so we each have our own personal bag, our own personal shit. Fortunately, after repeated use, the bags tear. Walkie-talkie crackles from time to time. Tom, Zuzulia here. The shipment will come today. We're waiting for favorable conditions. I go on the walkie-talkie too. Office, Zeus Bravo 6. They reply. Zeus, Sierra Cuban 8. I think you could write some kind of play based on these walkie-talkie conversations. I'd watch a show like that. Although I'd probably watch any show right now. You probably prefer it to be a good show. Once upon a time, when I was a director, I was looking for my perfect theater where I could create the perfect, best performance. I read all about the different methods and types, and over time I realized that it's a very individual thing. Every person has their own ideas about what performance is best. I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself in the theater of your dreams. Look around, please. What's the floor like in this theater? The walls, ceiling. What's the texture of what you're sitting on? What kind of lighting is there? Decor, design. The performance of your dreams is taking place on a stage or in a theater space. What kind of performance is it? What's the title? What does the poster look like? Costumes, scenery, props, musical accompaniment, blocking, what actions are taking place. Or maybe it's a monologue or a dialogue. Watch it for a while. This is the best performance of your life, most powerful theatrical experience you have ever had. Stay with it a little longer. Thank you. You can open your eyes. Isn't that strange? We're all kind of here and now, but each woman, man, and other was also in their own personal somewhere in some time. I've been looking for the performance of my dreams for a long time. And then I thought, here it is. This performance where every woman, man, and others watching their own personal best performance. That's the performance of my dreams. It's a pity I'm not with you now to see it. But I, like you right now, am sitting and imagining my dream performance. For me, these are nothing but thoughts, and for you, this is a thing that has happened already. Theater is a point of intersection between the common here and now and the individual somewhere and sometime. Maybe I've been lucky, and I'm actually sitting among you now. So then, hello to you. I wonder what you're thinking. If you like what you're seeing, maybe you'd like to change something in the text. It's as if we're one and the same person, but no, you're a real person sitting in the hall, and I, captured in a moment in the past, I've become a character in your text for the theater. Who or what are you now? How have you changed? Have you changed? It's okay if I'm not here right now. You have me. I seem to be breaking down the theater's fourth wall, but the wall between us still stands. It's just on a different plane. We are separated by time and space, but we have something in common in our here and now. War. Race is everything. I've met many theater artists here in the Army. I could tell you about one of them. Stepped down from the stage into the trenches, but this one's call sign is Athos. He's an opera singer, deep voice. He joined our battalion. I really saw him because he was in a different company. Once, when we were standing on the border with Belarus in the Chernobyl forests, I was digging a mortar position. The enemy was very far away, so I turned on some music on my phone. Classic rock hits to make the digging more pleasant, and Athos was on duty not that far away, and as he was making his rounds, he would look at me and he'd dance to the music on my phone. I mean, those were wonderful moments. Later, when my mortar crew and I were deployed somewhere between New York and Touretsk, we were providing cover for our infantry. The guys were taking a lot of losses. One time we were firing at an enemy position. I never know exactly where we're firing. It's just numbers on a scope for me, but only later I found out that we had been firing at a position where our infantry had been captured and was being held by the enemy. It was Athos's position. He was already dead. We had been firing accurately. His body was still in that trench. When cannons speak, the muses are silent. Horribly sorry. Like many others, I often think about death here at the front. Death transforms the relationship between here and now and somewhere and sometime into nowhere and never and always and everywhere. I would like to leave a mark. Every moment of the present becomes a part of the past. It leaves a mark. You can follow these marks back and see how my path shaped me at that moment in time. I mean, these marks are important, but they fade over time, like hugs. They did happen, and for a while I feel as though I am wrapped up in them, and then that warmth fades. Over time, I forget places, performances, and people, everything that shaped me, everything that brought me here. I forgot my first word. I still use it, but I forgot that first time, that moment. My life is like those marks that were once here and now. Gradually, everything disappears and will disappear, and I think this is beautiful. What never dies never lived. This does not apply to people alone. It also concerns performances, theaters, cities, countries. This is about people who are characters. Character's life is short, lasts from the first word to the final period. After the final period, only you will remain in the hall. The men, women, and others of the audience and the actor. You will applaud them. They will accept your applause. Please don't be stingy. They will be pleased. But at this moment, I will no longer be in this hall. I will be somewhere, in some time. But I want to leave a mark. So it may be that I am just a text, but I would like to embrace each and every one. Women, men, and others. If you have the ability, the desire, and the consent of your neighbor, please hug each other. Now, while I'm here in the audience. Thank you. Period.
There was a shelling on the 24th and 25th in Kyiv. Basically, it was complete pandemonium. We went down to the bomb shelter and spent several hours there, but we soon realized we were either going to have to live in a bomb shelter, get out of Kyiv, or leave the country. Although at that very moment, on February 25th, there was one more option. We could go volunteer for the territorial defense and try to be useful.
Did you know how to shoot?
To be honest, I wasn't even sure they would give us weapons. What's the point of giving us weapons? I thought people there do much more than shoot. There are a lot of people who do something else.
Something else.
They quickly divided us into squads. Then they started handing out machine guns. We came in on the 25th, and they gave us machine guns on the 26th. It was clear that everything was very no-nonsense. They taught us to assemble our guns and prepared us to be ready for street battles that might flare up right here and now. We fully expected street battles to start up immediately, and we expected to be participating in them. We had our machine guns now, and it was forward march.
Forward march.
But that isn't what happened. There were street battles, but we weren't in them. There weren't any in our neighborhood. Although they were pretty close by, so we just guarded the storehouses.
Something else.
We just guarded storehouses for several months. 1, 2, then 3. We had the feeling that while people were out there fighting somewhere, getting injured and dying, we were just going to stand by these storehouses. We were just racks to hang guns on. We would never do any shooting. In principle, we had no other function than to have machine guns hung on us.
You mean you didn't even shoot at bottles?
They taught us to shoot on these machine guns. We were trained to move through populated areas in mop-up operations, things like that.
After duty, you mean?
No. Right there on the spot, in the storehouses, between pallets and garages, or even in the parking lot near the storehouse. That's where we were trained.
So, how did you end up going to war?
Our battalion was going to be disbanded. So our squad was given the choice to transfer to another battalion that was already in the combat zone.
And you went?
Pretty much everybody did. When we got to Mykolaiv, they kept training us as riflemen. We assembled and disassembled rifles and learned how to carry them. We'd go out into the nearby forest and learn how to move through the trees. Then they said to Shashko and me, "You're going as a pair. You'll join a mortar battery."
Wow.
We went that very day.
Wow. Where?
Our squad had already taken up combat positions in the Kherson region, and we were going there. To It's a mystery to me by whom and how that decision was made that sent us into that mortar unit. I'd really like to look those people in the eye. Sometimes stuff like that just happens.
These two will now join the mortar unit.
When we arrive, they're already in battle. And we don't even know what a mortar is. We have no idea. Can you imagine?
Hilarious.
Our eyes were this big. And our commander, everybody called him Bat, starts giving us lessons. This is a mortar. This is how it works. Over there, this system with a mortar, the Kropiva system, is very complicated. He taught us this Kropiva, which is basically a kind of artillery software. And bit by bit, our first practice shots with the mortar went right out at the enemy.
Is it hard there?
Hard. What's hard are showers, finding a normal bed, washing clothes, finding a washing machine. Basically, I knew I didn't need much. But in the army, in the trenches, in combat positions, I realized I hardly needed anything at all. Just something to protect my head. Occasionally a hot shower. You get a mattress? Super. That's win-win. You don't need much of anything for happiness.
An orthopedic mattress.
After that village near Kherson, which was bombed horribly, which was completely destroyed, we didn't even live in shacks. We just dug a trench for ourselves inside a cowshed because we knew they'd be bombing the shack. And they did.
You lived in a cowshed?
Under a cowshed, actually. Because they were shelling us constantly. We burrowed into the ground, and that's where we lived, with no water. Just a hole in the ground for 6 months.
To no man does the earth mean so much as to the soldier. When he presses himself down upon her long and powerfully, when he buries his face and his limbs deep in her from the fear of death by shell fire, then she is his only friend, his brother, his mother. He stifles his terror and his cries in her silence and her security. She shelters him.
The hole, it was about, well, it was a lot smaller than this. But it was a trench made for 6. We burrowed in about 9 feet by 6, or something, probably about 9 feet deep. And we covered it over.
With cement slabs.
If only. If only. Oh, if only. We just walked around what was left of the village and gathered up anything we could. We covered the trench with boards, with tin sheets and other junk. Then we kept digging, filled bags with dirt and covered everything with the bags of dirt. Then we expanded it. We made more trenches inside the first trench.
I had hamsters.
We built beds down there, 6 beds. Then we started digging another secret passage where we hid when...
You were fired at?
When the worst shelling began. We'd slip through these holes into the secret passage to places that had real concrete slabs over them. And there you'd know that above you there was earth and a concrete slab. And on top of that slab there was more earth. We had frogs and mice down there. Things like that.
I saw mice in your video. Oh, mice are so cute.
Mice are a huge problem in war. They gnaw at everything. They gnaw all the food they can get their teeth on, no matter how it's stored. The only thing that keeps them at bay is crates.
Wooden ones.
Iron ones. made from leftover shells and mines. Mice eat absolutely everything. Knobs on radios and the gunpowder and explosives. That was really fucked when they ate the powder from the shells. Without the gunpowder, the shells won't fly, or they won't fly where they're supposed to. Mice will eat you alive in your sleep. They'll eat your fingers. Mice gnaw on everything.
You can't exterminate them?
At first, we use all kinds of Velcro. That was terrible because the mice would get stuck on it, and they'd die long deaths right there constantly squeaking.
I'm dying!
In short, it was terrible. And we finally gave up on the Velcro during our shifts. Our replacements kept using them, but it still didn't help much. The mice didn't give a damn.
Well, what about poison?
Poison was worst of all. They die from it, of course, and a lot of them did die, but the problem was that they died inside the trench walls. And then they decomposed there. They really stunk. And I don't have a big problem with smells, but the guys do, and it was hell for them. We had to pull down the trench walls to get rid of the dead mice, then put the walls back up. So we quit doing that pretty quickly, especially since there were still a lot of mice anyway.
What about mouse traps?
Humane mouse traps that the mouse goes into, we'd put a chunk of Snickers in there. And the mice would go in one by one, then they couldn't get out. The only thing is that it happened non-stop, all the time. Every 3 minutes, you'd have to go toss out the mice. We'd toss them into this huge shell casing. That's how we harvested our mice.
A mouse harvest.
Then we would take the empty casing as far away as we could. Or during the next shift, they would simply die there in the casing. In that case, the guys would just dump the mouse corpses somewhere. Not as far, of course. It was mostly for entertainment, this harvesting of mice in empty shell casings. There were lots of mouse traps. You could take out 100 mice a day, and there'd be just as many left behind. That's how it was.
There are other ways, too.
They came up with this supercharged wheat that was supposed to give them some infection. Then, after a few generations, the mice were just supposed to disappear. That was the most effective means, because after a while, the population really did drop by a certain percentage. But they still didn't go away entirely. There were always lots of mice, and a lot of mice were always left.
You mean like subtracting 10% from infinity?
Cats didn't help any. A weasel did. It took up residence in our hole in the ground, and it hunted them. That helped. The weasel really helped. But that still didn't save us from the mice. It was the winter that saved us from the mice. When it got cold, the mice disappeared.
Tell me.
What?
Tell me, come on. About the bullying, the homophobia, the transphobia, all of that. We shouldn't avoid hard topics. Is that a thing in the Army?
There were a few small things, but there weren't any game changers, as you'd say.
For example?
The first question Bat asked me, he's my commander now, was, what are your pronouns?
And what are they?
Her and hers. And he always uses my pronouns.
What about the others?
At first, it's strange for people. They're afraid or worried, or, as it seems to me, they didn't take me seriously. They thought I might do something. Then when it got down to business, when we were engaged in combat missions...
What was your first combat mission?
They were making sorties to the front. And our platoon was supposed to go to the front line too. As commander, Bat had to go. And he was supposed to take one person with him. I went up to him and I said, Bat, if you don't take me, nobody else will.
It's now or never.
And he took me.
He did?
And on my first sortie to the front, I lost my machine gun.
What a fool I am!
We ride out there in a truck bed, we pull up, I jump out, toss my backpack out, toss my machine gun down on the ground, and climb out of the truck. Bat tosses his backpack out, but another one of his men jumps into the truck and tosses his machine gun in there too. In short, he got mixed up, and he took my machine gun too.
Oh.
Threw it in the truck bed, and they drove off.
They took your machine gun.
I started kicking the truck, but because you have to keep moving. You can't stop, because then everybody will get shot up. They drive off. And I'm realizing that my machine gun is in there. I'm watching it drive off into the distance.
So what then?
To tell you the truth, and all this time I haven't fired my machine gun even once.
So mortars are better?
Back in Kyiv, we were nothing but human racks to hang machine guns on. Now, a machine gun is just an accessory we carry around all the time. But there's no point to it. We aren't close enough to the enemy to shoot at him with a machine gun.
By threes and fours, our class was scattered over the platoons amongst Frisian fishermen, peasants, and laborers with whom we soon made friends. Kropp, Mueller, Kemrick, and I went to platoon number 9.
For the most part, only 3 of us were working near the Kherson: Raccoon, Bat, and I. And we weren't exactly a formidable fighting group. There wasn't enough of us. Then the Transcarpathians joined us: Jew, Hamster, and Greek. It was all a very small circle.
6 people.
One platoon consisting of 2 mortar crews. That was enough to do what we needed.
What did you do?
So we have Sashko, Greek, and Hamster, who are really good with explosive projectiles. All those gunpowders and everything. They know what goes where, because these shells are a thing unto themselves. You need the powder, the chargers underneath and above. You've got to put all that in order, and then you launch the shell.
The shell.
We've got 2 drivers who really know how to handle a vehicle. And there are at least 3 more who are currently training. But we've got 2 really good ones. One of them, Greek, he'll get us out of any shit. He is really a super driver.
A Superman.
There are 3 people who can work the Kropiva system. That's Bat, Jew, and me. Bat is a god with Kropiva. He taught us everything about it.
A god on Kropiva?
Kropiva is a system created specifically for the armed forces of Ukraine. Specifically for artillery, for spotters. A special system. Bat is an IT guy. He can contact the IT guys who developed this Kropiva thing so that they can work out the glitches. Everyone has skills of some kind. One guy can do one thing and another can do another. Different groups are constantly coming together in this puzzle.
What if I get sick? By a fever or runny nose?
There was one time when half our platoon was down sick, and the next platoon over, which was working with us, was also sick. It turned out that just 3 of us were in working condition. So we were doing 24 and 48-hour shifts. I had one of the 48 hours, and boy, do you work.
So did the sick ones receive treatment?
Sashko has a beat on this. He is responsible for all the medicines, for everything in the first aid kit.
What about a cook?
Earlier in our previous companies, we did the cooking. We were responsible for the food and everything else. But now, the Transcarpathians have replaced us, of course, because they cook so much better than we do. They cook really well.
Jaden gives an account of his national dish, broad beans and bacon. He despises it when not flavored with bog myrtle, and for God's sake, let it all be cooked together, not the potatoes, the beans, and the bacon separately.
The Transcarpathians, they all speak their own language, their own dialect.
Пак десь.
Сівім.
Оде коло болта.
Не, мало той найближче.
Пак Мацицько чи майближе?
Ти хто?
Не чуєм тя.
Do the Russians understand intercepts?
At first, we didn't even understand. Nothing at all. They'd say something and we'd be like, what? What?
Could they have assigned Sashko to one unit and you to another?
I don't think so. First of all, everybody knows we're a couple. And it's not even a matter of Sashko and me, but basically about couples in general in the territorial defense.
Couples?
Men and women, men and men, sons and fathers. There are all kinds of couples. They don't separate them.
What strange pairings have you seen?
There was a guy and a girl in our squad. They were puppet actors.
So you're a director and Sashko is an actor, and before you, there were two actors from a puppet theater?
And we began to think, just give us a bit more time and we'll start making performances.
How are you and Sashko doing now?
On the one hand, it feels like we have put everything on hold. On the other hand, there's something else at work here. The shared experience we are going through, which will stay with us forever.
Have you grown closer?
We all become closer here. Imagine you are with someone, say some Masha Samska or Lana Banana.
Lana Banana.
Say you sit in a trench together for a year and a half with this Lana Banana. You fire at the enemy shoots at you. You're under mortar fire together. You kill other people with your own mortar fire. She's a spotter. And the two of you are bound together. Your life depends on her, and hers on you. This experience is long-lasting, and it is very extreme.
Lana Banana.
You've never seen any Lana Banana before, but after this experience, you'll likely have a deeper connection with her than you will with all the people you return to in civilian life. There will be a gulf between you and them.
So, is there an abyss between us?
We work with three kinds of mortars: the 60, the 80, and the 120.
Is that the caliber?
The 60. That's hardly worth talking about. There are two types of 60s. The long 60, which at least has some range, and then there's the very short 60, literally this big. It's just a little fart that can only shoot as far as you can see. In other words, we can shoot at the enemy. If we shoot at the enemy, he sees us too. That was our first mortar. However, I personally never fired a single shot from it.
Why not?
We started shooting with the 80. The 80 is a proper mortar, unlike the other worthless thing. It's relatively large and its strike zone is much larger, 120 to 150 feet. And its range is 2.5 miles.
You said you have a 120 right now?
Real weapons generally start at 120 caliber. Everything up to 120 is basically play stuff. When they fire at you from a 120, they are shooting right at you. All of them are dangerous and scary, but A 120 brings absolute destructive force.
Absolute force.
It's the technology. There are people who see the target or have a good idea of where the target is located, an enemy mortar, or a concentration of enemy forces, and they sit there right on the front line or crawl back behind the line where they can see it with their own eyes. They call headquarters on the radio.
We see it.
Headquarters sends out a spotter, that is a copter, to fly over and look. The copter takes off, flies, looks, sees. Yep, there's something there at this point. Now they give the coordinates, meaning they transmit them to headquarters.
Headquarters.
Headquarters checks the coordinates. They determine what weapons can reach the target, which ones physically can't, and who to contact. Then they decide who will shoot, maybe several at once.
Here's the target. Fire!
And if it's up to us, then we're already calculating the target and the coordinates. We're positioned, we're aligned, and we start firing. The copter is still hovering up there. We have fired. The shell hits. And now it all depends on the weather conditions, on how well we calculated everything. The temperature of the explosive, the temperature of the mortar itself, the range of error for this specific mortar, the range of error of this compass. There's a lot that goes into it. Either way, it is very rare, almost impossible, to hit something with the first shot. It just doesn't happen like that. We hit someplace, the copter sees where and says, the error is thus and such, we need 300 feet left and 150 feet deeper. We make the calculations, recalibrate the estimate by 300 and 150 feet, and fire a second time. As a rule, we don't have a direct hit this time either. Well, now this time we have a hit.
And they haven't hit you yet?
They still have to find us. We fired a series of shots, and we're keeping it under cover.
The mortar?
Yeah. Under a net or bags or something. Near Bakhmut, everything was covered in snow. So we cut up a white bag, and the mortar looked like a snowdrift. It's not even visible from the road. You'll walk right past it, but you'll never see it.
Invisible.
Some guys bury the mortar completely in ground and cover it under the soil with shields. They just open up, fire, and cover themselves again. The whole area looks just like a clearing in a field. Even when you're right over the mortar, you don't know it's there. It's perfect camouflage.
How do you disguise yourself?
You think about how not to expose yourself. What exposes you? Light. Don't use flashlights. It's best if you have red light.
Let's make a red light district.
That way, it's hard for their equipment to spot you. It's camouflaged light. Because later, they'll be looking for you, especially if a copter is hovering overhead. Some copters have thermal imagers. You have to be covered with earth and whatnot, only on the sides, but on the top too. So the copter can't detect your heat from above. Ideally, you'd be in a trench, so you have a roof over you, earth on top of that, and earth on both sides. Then you are more or less safe. I made a big mistake early on in the Kherson region. I once went to the front line with dogs. Don't do that. Don't go to the front with dogs.
Why not?
They are incredible at unmasking your position. You can't control them. They run all around you, and they're perfectly visible to thermal imagers. A dog running in circles around your position only draws a great big target right on you.
The corned beef over there is famous along the whole front. Occasionally, it has been the chief reason for a flying raid on our part, for our nourishment is generally very bad. We have a constant hunger.
We had a huge problem near Bakhmut. They practically sent us no food, just 2 to 4 times a week, but we were saved by volunteers. Our guys from Transcarpathia, they were all from these little villages. So all these villagers collected food and sent it to these guys. We were downright flooded with food from the villages of Transcarpathia.
Did they bring it on buses?
Sashko and I get everything by way of postal service. A box arrives, and it's all full of stuff inside.
The Bakhmut post office.
Not in Bakhmut, but the volunteers do wonders. They send us lots and lots of all kinds of food.
Is it good?
We make kasha.
Just add water.
There's this Viennese borscht. You just pour it into water, boil it, and voila. You have borscht. We have our own dishes. The volunteers bought dishes for Sashko and me. Then they bought some pots and pans for our unit. In this sense, all's good. This is an interesting question, by the way. For some reason, everyone thinks we are starving out there.
Maybe that's why you're not hungry, because everyone thinks you are?
We had a few times when we thought we were running out of food. But as soon as we start to fear that there won't be any food, it seems to rain down from the sky.
What are you lacking there?
Explosives. Explosives are the main thing. No question about that. Explosives are life. It's people's lives. If our people are under heavy shelling and we can't return sufficient fire to cover them, whether it's because we don't have the sufficient firepower or we lack the firing range to cover them, for the most part, we lack the shells for the 120. I think about those last days near Bakhmut when I was sitting there with 3 explosives left.
3.
I think some attack is going to start up. And we were constantly retreating. We almost never moved forward. We were constantly dropping back. The whole time we retreated little by little. And here I am with 3 shells. I think it's going to start right now. And what the hell am I going to do with 3 shells?
Is this like for half an hour?
What it really means is, hey guys, I'm right here. You can shoot right over in this direction.
I heard on YouTube that you receive shells from all over the world.
A good half of Europe has passed through our mortar. I mean, in the form of projectiles. But have you ever tried firing Spanish shells from a mortar made in the 1950s?
Is that a generational conflict?
Each shell has its own characteristics, its own calculations, its own weight, its own fuses, its own powder, its own amount of powder, its own dynamics, its own trajectory. You have to do this every time, working out individual calculations for specific projectiles. Sometimes these calculations are inaccessible. They don't exist. Nobody sent them with the explosive rounds in the box.
I'll Google that.
We do internet searches, but there's nothing there. And it goes without saying that there's nothing there about our mortar. We went into battle with a mortar made in 1952.
They say the Russian tanks are T-34s from World War II.
The thing is, we are the territorial defense, which means we're the last in line. They may supply something normal to more or less qualified troops, but they give the garbage to us.
Second-hand mortars.
Look, even Soviet shells have a norm. It might have 1 plus, maybe 2, 3, and 1 minus, 2 or 3.
Plus, minus.
The difference is in the weight of the projectile. When you choose a projectile, you have to alter all the adjustments depending on its weight. And I'm talking only about weight differences that a single manufacturer might supply you with. In this case, We're talking about another country, and they even have different ways of calculating the weight. There are no pluses or minuses. There's just 1 square, 2 squares, or 3 squares.
What's that?
Who the hell knows? Are they counting according to the norm?
Maybe 2 squares is the norm, and no squares is 2 minuses?
It's all math and geometry. You take everything into account, you input all the data, and you arrive at a geometric equation. It's rather like astronomy. Sometimes, if there are too many unknowns, your astronomy turns into astrology, and you think,
The moon today is in a certain phase.
it may reach its destination. It may not. It truly has happened that we have no idea where it's heading.
What do you shoot at?
It might be technical equipment. More often, it's people crowded together.
What do you call them?
They usually call them faggots. We tried to stop that, thinking maybe we could prove to people that change is in order, but we didn't get anywhere with it.
Sorry.
Sometimes it gets downright absurd when they're right up to your face. They say, "So what do you say? Let's go fuck up some faggots today."
I'll call them the enemy. What are they like?
At times, they can be very stupid.
Dead meat?
There's meat for the grinder. Then there are some very smart units. You've got to kill them both. There's no difference. It's just that some are easier, others are harder. They don't turn tail and run from us in fear.
That's too bad.
I don't get it at all. They just throw cannon fodder at us. It's horrible. It's just horrible.
Why?
Say, for example, I'm a Russian soldier. What the hell is going on in my head that would make me go to some other country just to be hung on a meat hook? What for? Why? For what? It's very difficult for me to understand what their motivation is. A lot of them just come here to die, just in droves. It's a mystery to me how someone can do that.
Maybe they think someone else will die, not me.
Maybe they don't think at all. They have this tactic of running right at our trenches. They wear no protective vests, nothing. They just run at our trenches. And when they get right up to our hole in the ground, we can no longer shoot at them because then we would start hitting our own people. So they run, and we fire at them. So simple. Just shoot to your heart's content.
The warrior's hand was exhausted.
In the first days near Bakhmut, we still had a lot of explosives. Felt really great after the problems in Kherson region where we had to go through everything underground. Finally, we have the chance to do a lot of shooting. We have a lot of shells. The enemy is gathered in a tight group, and we have the necessary coordinates. Plus, they weren't returning fire yet. The conditions were fantastic. You're just cutting down the enemy. Still, that was only in the early days.
What's it like to kill?
That's something I thought about from the very beginning. When we were finally given machine guns, I thought, now we're going to shoot. They said, you're finally going to see the enemy. And I think, I'm going to shoot at him. I think,
I'm going to kill people.
I couldn't imagine a situation in which I would kill someone.
The moment we are about to retreat, 3 faces rise up from the ground in front of us. Under one of the helmets, a dark pointed beard and 2 eyes that are fastened on me. I raise my hand, but I cannot throw into these strange eyes. For one mad moment, the whole slaughter whirls like a circus around me, and these 2 eyes alone are motionless. Then the head rises up, a hand, a movement, and my hand grenade flies through the air and into him.
I didn't see the enemy's face in Kyiv. I don't see the enemy's face on the front line. I don't see these people. I don't see these people's eyes. I don't know who these people are. We're all firing. I'm not shooting alone. We're a group. Who among us is responsible? The gunner? The mortar commander? The one who delivers the projectiles to us? Or me? When I pull the string? Which one of us is responsible? We don't even know if we killed anyone or not. Did many go down? Just a few? Who were these people?
How many?
I don't count them. In order to count every cargo 200, you'd have to go out and count each body. At a certain point, it became clear we could kill very easily. We never really reflected on that. We just did our work. We just worked.
What if you think later, God, fuck, I killed people?
I never had any sensation of it until our unit went to those places we had been working and took pictures of the corpses and sent them to us.
It's just your job.
Wow. Wow, we did that. But even these photos, sometimes drones send us videos. But that's just pixels.
In the fall, it rains and it is so cozy at home. What about where you are?
That time of year, all the fields turn into swamps. And you have to drive vehicles through those fields. They get stuck in the swamp really quickly.
Did yours ever get stuck?
We had to get another vehicle. We abandoned ours, we got out, and right there we were saved by the fog, because the drones couldn't see us yet. We went on foot to another vehicle, so it would come pull out the first vehicle. We get back, tow the first car out, and now we both get stuck. We're fucked. We can't pull either one of them out. Both are stuck. Only a tractor or some other super powerful vehicle will ever pull them out.
What if there's no fog?
It happened near Kasan that some people got stuck there, and others came to pull them out. So this crowd of people comes under serious fire. A lot of them are wounded. Cargo 200. Finally, one of our commanders got them out. The guy who called him on the radio. Both his legs were shot off. He has no legs, and he's twisted this thing on himself, not a constrictor, but this
Tourniquet?
And he was still able to call the radio. We weren't engaged in the evacuation, but we saw the car after the evacuation. It was all smeared in blood. We were near Bakhmut and stationed at the 88th kilometer, and there was an evacuation taking place nearby. Guys were also being taken to the evacuation point. These guys had no legs either. And they put his leg in separately. They loaded him in and said, "Don't forget his leg."
Hey, you forgot his leg!
And there's this boot on it, a piece of it with these things, maybe somehow, I don't know.
Maybe they could sew that leg back on somehow?
I don't know. But they took the leg with them.
If I do something bad, will they send me to the front?
I often hear about someone behaving badly, and they're supposed to be sent to the front. I'll say this, we don't need fuck-ups on the front line. There should only be adequate people at the front. It is no place for punishment. If someone drinks, they'll get into fights, they'll expose positions. Why in the hell would you want them there? For what? To sober them up? This is no Alcoholics Anonymous. We had one guy in my very first company. I don't want to lie about his age at this point, but he was very old.
Like Biden?
He slept on the floor next to me, and I kept thinking I would wake up and he would already be dead.
Like Putin, then.
But he went to war to defend his homeland. He had a sense of duty. He had a high rank. And there he was, sleeping on the floor, on sleeping mats, in the cold. There's mildew everywhere around him, and it was clear that
He was really...
he went out on all the shifts, which are 2 hours long, in the cold, the open air, and the wind. And we see that it's like...
It's impossible.
He proved to us over and over again that he was still a badass and that he could do it. In the end, though, he was decommissioned. He fought it.
I'm not old, I'm good.
Or say you have a really good person, really positive and kind, but you can see immediately that this guy should never be handed a weapon. But this is precisely the case of someone being told, off to the front, kill Russians, go.
And he won't refuse. He'll go to the front and follow every order.
But he can't do a damn thing. He can't handle a machine gun. He can't handle a mortar. He can't handle anything. So obviously, for better or worse, we protected people like this. We keep them sitting in place at PPD.
At what?
At the placement of permanent dislocation. We keep them busy with other tasks.
Something else.
At a certain point, it was decided that our unit needed reinforcements there at the front. And since this guy wasn't performing combat missions as a mortar operator, but he wasn't in combat not because he didn't want to be, but because nobody would let him.
You don't want this guy working a mortar.
This guy is simply not made for war. There is a huge neon sign hanging over him. This man is not for war.
Not for war, not for war. This man is not for war.
He survived. He's alive. He's fine. But his arm was ripped off. I remember we were all very, very angry about that.
Has your attitude to death changed?
Yeah. No. I don't know. In the Kherson region, we kind of fired, took a break, then fired again. I can say that that was more or less safe for us. But the fact that I was stationed, the unit was right near Bakhmut, was just... we could hear them.
How did you hear them?
We heard them over the radio. They were being shelled really heavily from different directions. We couldn't open fire from our position. We couldn't do anything. And at one point it became clear that we were just simply being buried under these...
Kimrick is dead. High Vestus is dying. They will have a job with Hans Kramer's body at Judgment Day, piecing it together after a direct hit. Martins has no legs anymore. Meyer is dead. Max is dead. Bayer is dead. Hammerling is dead. There are 120 wounded men lying somewhere or other. It is a damnable business.
And there were these two, a father and a son. The father covered his son with his body, but that didn't save either one of them. And that was all happening live, right there and then. It's a hard blow to morale when there are casualties, especially if there are a lot of casualties, and especially if there are an unbelievable lot of them. In that case, I would say it's clear. Everyone has to withdraw immediately.
Who's that? On your lap?
He was from another unit, a drone operator. He was shot up near our combat position. His leg was torn off. The guys couldn't stay with him while we were waiting for evacuation, not even his buddy. I sat with him alone for 4 hours while he screamed and cried.
Just a boy.
That was the third drone operator injured near our position. We rescued 2 of them. One we couldn't save.
Why was that?
All the drone operators were killed, and all of them were located near our positions. Out of 3 shifts, only 1 was left. There was no one else to replace it.
Are warriors heroes and titans?
The army didn't turn out to be quite what I expected.
You mean there are no titans?
When I started working with these guys, I clung to an idealized concept of heroism. Later, I realized they were just people.
People.
With their own complexes, fears, and weaknesses. They're people. They might be very different. Actually, I am one of those. I can't call that disillusionment.
De-idealization.
The army has nothing to do with fairness. Expecting any kind of justice in the army is just, well, very, very naive. And I started to accept that more calmly.
In what sense?
Well, some things are unfair. But hey, that's life. I can live with that.
I can't.
The army is made up of hundreds of thousands of completely different people. All religions, absolutely all genders and sexual orientations, education, professions, social status, very, very, very different people. But everybody fights in the same trench. It's amazing how all these people try to find a common language. They don't always find it. Sometimes they don't find it at all. But they still keep fighting side by side in the same trench.
Do titans poop? How do you go to the bathroom?
Depends on where you are. During shelling on the firing line, you might think you have to go, but you probably won't be able to. You'll have to get out. Sometimes they dig a separate trench for a toilet, but that's really rare. Sometimes you haven't dug one yet, but you can't wait. Then, to the joy of the 4 winds, you squat down. And if incoming fire starts up, you cut short your interlude very quickly and jump into the trench.
Here, let me cover you!
When we were near Chernobyl, we settled into a house. There was a toilet there, but it was an outhouse in the yard. It stood about this high, and there was a wooden seat about this high, and it was about this deep, with a door you could close.
Kind of a box.
A closet. You had to get into the closet to do your thing. Don't laugh.
Maybe they were short on wood.
I'll never figure it out. For me, this architectural phenomenon was...
Maybe little people lived there.
Lilliputians. because it was very strange. It was physically impossible. Impossible. Why would you do that?
You go into the toilet cabin like this. You open it.
You can't close the door because you can't fit all the way into the booth. The door doesn't close. So you're standing with your feet outside. When we went to the toilet, we'd always announce, "I'm going to the toilet."
Don't come over here.
You sit down. It's even worse later when the process is over. Now you have to take a piece of paper, and you're there in this position. Half in the toilet, half outside.
So go outside and finish the process.
Right. Sometimes I was even able to close the door.
That must be pretty claustrophobic.
You sit there. The ceiling's right here. The wall's right here. And a wall right here. And that's how you do your thing.
Maybe it was constructed like that precisely for that position.
It's true. There were some yogis living there back then. You climb in like this, not like this, and you stand.
Ashtanga yoga.
But we never came up with asana to pee standing up.
What are you afraid of?
I'm terrified something will happen to Sashko. It's scary. There are times when he goes to combat and I stay back at the PPD. It is scary. I listen to everything on the radio. I listen to what is happening. When we're together, I can control the situation.
Really?
In that case, I understand what's happening. I can influence the situation somehow. I can't influence the situation from here. I can only listen to the transmissions and guess what will happen next. It's scary.
How do couples live when one is in combat and the partner is far away somewhere?
You can have a heart attack waiting for the news.
Why is Sashko on leave now, but you are not?
When we first came back from Kherson, I felt like I was slightly intoxicated in Kyiv. I felt like I wasn't part of reality at all. That I was in some kind of parallel reality.
And the second time?
That was easier. But I still felt like I was totally out of touch with what was happening in the city.
Oh, so you all hang out at coffee houses drinking lavender coffee creams.
I can understand anything. I understand that without lavender coffee creams, in principle, there would be no Ukraine. And it is great that lavender coffee creams are out there to be sold and bought. It's wonderful. I'm only a little worried that people will get tired of the war, that they'll get used to it, and as happened before the full-scale war, people might think, there's a war going on out there, somewhere, but there's no war here.
But there is war here.
These days I feel more comfortable in combat than in Kyiv. I don't know why I'm here, but I do know why I'm there. I don't feel useful, needed, or beneficial here in civilian life. Back there, I know what I can do. I understand how it works. Everything is more or less simple and clear.
We are fleeing. We fly from ourselves, from our life. We were 18 and had begun to love life and the world, and we had to shoot it to pieces. The first bomb, the first explosion burst in our hearts. We are cut off from activity, from striving, from progress. We believe in such things no longer. We believe in the war. What if you get used to killing?
Look, they kill there. I kill. Everyone kills. It's just a job. But it doesn't mean that I or someone else from our platoon will come home and start shooting people up.
You think so?
They are very good people. Sashko and I do theater. Bat is an IT specialist. The Transcarpathians are tractor drivers, chauffeurs, and the such. We had lawyers there. There was one guy in our very first company, one of our group. He was in a platoon. He was an embroiderer.
You mean he did embroidery?
And here, you know, he's a widowmaker. Or those two, the actor and actress from the puppet theater, they've been doing that all their lives. A bear, a spinning top, and a fox. Now they both carry machine guns. I doubt that all these people, after their experience, will come home, take up a knife, and go slashing everyone.
Are you better now than you were?
War is not an experience that makes you better. It isn't. It isn't spiritual growth. It doesn't work that way. It's not that, it's something else. It's traumatic. It is destructive.
Hair doesn't grow on scars. What has been killed in you?
Well, art, for example. I don't do art. The artist inside me just hasn't been there for so long that I'm starting to doubt I will ever go back to doing art at all.
We could do some sort of art project.
How do you see that? It seems to me that anyone suggesting that is a little out of touch with reality. Here I am. Here we are fighting. And here we are killing people. And in the evening, we sing songs.
You mean like, do you flick a toggle switch?
I always carry my ukulele with me, but I can't even sing. I sometimes strum my ukulele. There's no way I can sing a song.
That will pass.
I started to communicate with people less. And the further I went, the less I wanted to. I grew more silent, and it became very difficult for me to speak or remember words. I started to forget words. Something in my very communicative apparatus changed.
What does the psychologist say?
If someone had told me I would join the army of my own accord, that I would become a mortar operator, and that what is happening to me would happen to me, I would never have believed it. I'm probably a little surprised that I'm here at all. But I don't regret anything. And if it were to happen again, I would do the same thing. I regret nothing.
I toss off the beer in one gulp. Immediately, a second is ordered. People know how much they are indebted to the soldiers. They argue about what we ought to annex. The headmaster with the steel watch chain wants to have at least the whole of Belgium, the coal areas of France, and a slice of Russia. He produces reasons why we must have them and is quite inflexible until at last the others give in to him.
What is that you're reading from all this time?
All quiet on the Western Front.
There's nothing quiet here these days.
Remarque was writing about himself. It's a very pacifist novel.
Pacifist, because Germany was the aggressor then. We are defending ourselves. Everyone here these days has to learn how to shoot and drive a vehicle. Those are two things civilians have to learn now. Automatic weapons are a must, and driving a car is a must. Have you taken any lessons in handling automatic weapons?
No.
Do. It's time. These days, absolutely everyone should be able to do these things, regardless of sex, gender, or age. The machine gun is the easiest, but it's the most important thing to learn. And driving. But the gun is more important. We didn't think about it before, but there aren't enough people who know how to drive. It's not enough to be able to drive there because you are constantly driving in super extreme conditions. You drive through swamps really fast, and then you unload really fast, and then you drive away. Drivers are worth their weight in gold. There are mines everywhere in the swamps. And when you're being shelled, you have to absolute steel nerves and the ability to control that contraption. We have these two guys in our company, one who just knows how to drive, and the other is a driver of divine powers. He'll get us out of anything. If we are in a super extreme bind, we know Greek will definitely get us out. The most difficult moments are entering the position and leaving it. Everything here depends on the driver. A driver is life. A good driver is life. It is very likely that a situation will arise in which you'll need to drive a pickup truck in extreme conditions. There won't be anybody else. Your life will depend on it too. You may have to get behind the wheel and go. When I was on leave, I took my driving test and studied all the traffic rules. Unfortunately, I failed.
So, why do we need traffic laws in war?
Could you just set up feature? And we're going to take a second to set up. If I can grab the actors and directors, we're going to do a quick photo before we transition.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're showing a photo. Oh, okay.
I'll do it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to switch this around for a second.
Chairs over here on the ground.
No, I think we can, yeah, actually, let's bring it. There's more of a difference here.
Here, I'll sit here. Look at that.
Okay,
like
great.
it.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like you're directors anymore.
God, I wish we had someone who knew how to just like.
Move people around.
We have more. Great. Sure. Let me start with the. Testa. Okay. Why don't
Test,
we start
test.
with all three up here, and then we'll bring to the audience. Great. So thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful performance. So I'll start by asking you, how did you come about finding these plays and deciding to do them?
Hi, everybody. My name is Wayne Maugans. I'm the artistic director of Voyage Theater Company, and thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you for staying for this talk back. The play Antonina came to me more than a year ago. It was probably in early 2025. We had gotten a grant from an organization called the Center for International Theater Development, CITD. And they have a partnership with a Ukrainian theater company that's based in Kharkiv, Theater and Antonina. And so they partnered us with this theater in Kharkiv for a play exchange. And so we sent some American plays to Ukraine, and Ukraine sent some Ukrainian plays to us. They came to me translated, mostly by John Freedman, who sort of was the organizer of a lot of this. John is American, but had married a woman who was an actress in Moscow, a quite famous actress in Moscow, but she was Ukrainian of birth. And when the full-scale invasion happened in 2022, they left Moscow. They are now living in Greece, and he's sort of operating from Greece. So that's how we got connected with these plays. So the play Antonina came through first. And then the short play, a text for theater, came much later on. It was a play that was written in conversation with that longer piece, Antonina. And we didn't have a chance to present the play when we were doing the partnership with the play in Kharkiv, because one of the partners that we had here in the United States felt that the LGBTQ of it all was just too much for them. They said they weren't really open to addressing that as part of what was going on with the war in Ukraine. So we didn't have an outlet for it until this festival. So thank you for having this play here tonight. It was brave of you all to accept it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing it to us. And were you involved from early on, Lisa, or did you come on more recently?
I'm trying to remember when you asked me. I'm not quite sure. It's been a little while. Yeah, it's been a little while. Okay, great. Yes. And then when we started talking about casting as well, we had conversations about these actors, and thrilled that you all came along. So thank you.
Yes. So Lisa, you also have had experience with the Lark Theater and with various international work. What is your experience, particularly with Ukrainian theater, coming into this?
I haven't had a lot of experience with Ukrainian theater, to be honest. We, at the Lark, I was the director of Global Exchange, and we had translation programs back and forth with different countries. So Mexico, Romania, Hungary, and Russia. So these were those translation. So we would bring American playwrights to whatever host country, translate their plays into whatever host language it was, and then we would bring those people over back here and translate their plays into English. So that was really, in a global sense, the relationship that I had. But Wayne and I go way back and have had a longer relationship. So, and I invited Wayne to the Lark when I was there. And so we've been engaged in these conversations about international work for quite some time.
Terrific. And let me say hello to the actors. Thank you so much for your performances. When you first encountered these texts, what was your personal reaction to them? Do you feel like it would sort of could reflect a reality that you could have been in if you were in Ukraine? Did it feel more alien to you to try to imagine this sort of life and existence described?
I guess I have the mic. Reading the text for the first time definitely put a lot of stuff into context for me, because there's only so much you can learn from the media, sadly. And I feel like personally, sorry, I feel like there's a little bit of feedback. I hope it's not too loud. Personally, I am an Iranian person. And as we know, there's a lot of war happening in general, many areas in the world right now, so horrifically. And I feel like the younger version, the pre-war version of Antonina, I feel really close to, because there's only so much that I can hear about war that I can't quite touch or experience myself. And so it feels very relatable to me in that way, that I feel quite naive, and it's a lot of stuff that I can hear, but I can't touch or feel. And so I think this text is so visceral. Yeah. I'm gonna pass this mic down.
Sure. That's beautiful. Yeah, I've never been in active duty. I've never been a soldier. But something I connected with right away was, I think, sitting in the question of why we do what we do now as artists. I think also the relationship to the audience, the craving for an audience, imagining some future time where we get to have an audience. It's all so steeped in relationship, I feel like, in the shorter piece, which makes my job kind of easy and kind of puts a lot on you guys. Or I was like, I gotta wait till I get to see my audience. That's all I gotta worry about. But yeah, that was something that struck me early on, was the self-awareness of the theater. I really love Brecht, and it felt like there was a lot of sort of Brecht's lineage in a text for theater. The self-awareness of the theatricality, the relationship to the audience, this idea of activating the audience in some way, and a real sense of urgency behind that because of the time and place that it was written. So that was something that spoke to me right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because both of my parents were actually in the military, so I always had sort of a distance from it with some version of what it was like, but the American version of it, and being voluntarily choosing that as a career versus feeling the sense of something is happening right now and I must do it, is really interesting. I think a lot of people right now feel a sense of urgency of wanting to do something to help with a lot of things that are going on in the world, and I think that sense of needing a purpose, to find a purpose to help the people around you, is really the way of relating to this for me. And I think the idea that kept coming up was just that this could happen to anybody at any time, sort of being dropped into something like this, is, I think, also very felt right now. Of there's a lot of things happening in the world, and it really could happen at any time to any person. And I think what is scary is the moment when Antonina says, I don't do art anymore, but on the other side of that is this piece where obviously they did, and they found that again, and which is really beautiful, because that's another sense of urgency to tell it in this way.
So there were two things I thought were particularly interesting. One was that all three of you were playing the same character, except you weren't playing the same character, right? Because if we use Antonina's terminology in the first piece, these are, and we think of these as characters rather than as, Antonina. They're all slightly different characters. Partially interested in hearing your thoughts in terms of where you thought your character was versus other characters. And the other thing I thought was interesting, and this is sort of folding in two different things at once, but with all the characters, I thought it was interesting, and you went a little bit about the LGBTQ aspect of this, but it just felt like a fact. It didn't feel like the character was about that fact. It was just a fact about the character, if you understand what I'm saying. So, and I thought that was a really interesting underlying thing that played into all three characters. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts about who your character was and how you thought it related to the other characters.
Yeah, I think to that aspect of it being a fact, especially, again, sort of that moment in the piece that my character speaks about, of the people you meet and everybody just being a person and being on the same level, ironically, is very powerful for a queer character, because I think that is something that is trying to be, especially right now, sort of understood all across the world, of like, these people are just people, your neighbors, your friends, your lawyers. And when it comes down to it, we're all in the same boat, and we're all going to be in the same trench. And knowing that people can change, I think that was really powerful. Of those circumstances do make people actually sometimes get rid of their own preconceived notion, because it's just about, you're a human, I'm a human, and I have your back in this moment. And I've seen that happen too, and it's really, I think that's a lot of what I know to be true. And again, having had parents who were in the military, that's what I knew to be true about a lot of people who voluntarily joined in the first place. It's not all of this thing that you see all the time of what's actually this scary thing of people. It's mostly people just wanting to help other people, which is unfortunate. but it's not always like that.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. This is just a fact of Antonina that they came out as non-binary after joining the army. That really struck me. Just the idea of being in this extreme environment and having that kind of strip away some of the layers, and you are maybe just kind of sitting in a more honest space out of necessity. That really intrigued me. I am non-binary and also an actor, and I came out during the pandemic, which is true for quite a few of my actor friends also. There's a whole generation of non-binary actors who came out during the pandemic because suddenly you had a lot of time on your hands and a lot of time to look in the mirror and be like, something's been up and I've just been putting it off. But I think in Text for Theater too, it's so much of the reason I am an actor is I think my relationship to gender. From a very young age, I felt like I could express all these different shades and aspects of who I was in this space and be believed in a way that I couldn't in other aspects of my life. In other aspects of my life, I had to be boy, and boy didn't fit very well. And so there is that kind of kinship or recognition that I felt in the piece. I think in that version of Antonina, I would say in mine, maybe Antonina the artist also. But it's interesting throughout. It's I was trying to think, as you said, that like relationship within the first piece. Obviously, there's the relationship to the audience, but there's also the relationship to future Antonina. There's the direct address to that future self of like, who are you now watching this? Would you change anything? Have you changed? Which I think is so interesting. And the self-awareness of, I love the idea that, cisgender men and women maybe can come in and out of theater, and it is a thing that they do, but in the theater of gender, if you anyone who doesn't fit neatly into either box needs that theater to exist. We talked about that a bit in rehearsal, this idea that non-binary is sort of an identity, at least in my experience of it, but it is also like an identity of necessity. It's not necessarily one that I would have come up with on my own if I was thinking of like a fun way to like introduce myself to people, but it's like a necessity, right? I have to say that there's like a third box, ironically, because non-binary means like existing outside of a binary, but you need a third box to help people understand that you're not one of the other two boxes that they know. So it's a weird, I think I really love how Antonina dives into that linguistically, and also just living in that third space, I think is throughout the piece in a really lovely way that just feels honest and natural. This is the second time I've gotten to play a non-binary character, like an explicitly non-binary character. First one was a virgin of the Virgin Mary, so they've both been really fun so far. But it's cool because it's interesting to see different writers contend with like, what kind of characters are there to tell these stories? Where do they exist in our kind of theatrical landscape? Ideally, they're not there just to be non-binary. That's kind of a bummer as an actor, I would say. It's fun when they have other stuff going on. It's true with a lot of queer characters. Yeah, you hope that you get to depict people with all the nuances and colors that they have in real life. So it's a real gift in that sense, I would say.
I don't know. I love what you said. It's just a fact, like Kathleen, I think you said it so beautifully. I kind of don't even have anything to add. Like the kindest thing you can do when someone says you're non-binary, they're non-binary, is just be like, okay, cool, which is what happens to Antonina in this text, like what pronouns you tell people. Someone's like, what pronouns do you use? She, her. The next question is, so you tell them that your name is Antonina and you're non-binary, and they're like, yeah, cool, it's just a fact. I don't think I have anything else to say about that.
I have a question to ask.
Yeah.
So your character in particular had a lot of laughter, and I wonder how much of that was written in, how much was discovered by the two of you as it was being rehearsed.
This can be a co-production. I feel like this character is very naive to what war is, and I think there is really only so much that you can imagine before you have to actually deal with it, and I feel like there is a difference after someone goes to war, like you lose the ability to make art, you like lose, you maybe don't lose it, but it's like it lives in a different place in your body or in your mind, that when you go to war, something happens to you.
Yeah, this is something we did talk about a little bit today. First of all, I've known Ellen for quite some time, and so when I read it, I was like, I think Ellen could do this too. But that the fact that we were also speaking about Antonina, the later version, and how this character they're the same. And so where did you come from beforehand, before war, and where are you now? And so there was also, I think this is also something that we could work on over an extended period of time too, to discover more things. This is the final version. This is fully evolved right now.
It's saying you're the final.
Yeah.
You're like the final Pokemon.
That's right. But there was something about who Antonina was. Still is, because she's alive, but before the war. And so she was a theater artist, and just the expression and sense of humor that we discovered actually in the script, which I thought was very potent, and then just to see the journey of the character over time.
One last question, then we're going to move it over to the audience. It's for you, Wayne. So you've been working with a few of these Ukrainian plays. Do you find a commonality, or do you find that the work that you've been picking up and reading and dealing with is actually pretty diverse in...
You mean...
in style, in subject matter?
Oh, the plays that I've been receiving from Ukraine that have been translated. They've been very, very different. All of them extraordinarily passionate, some of them more well-crafted than others. Sometimes the translations are a little clunky or a little awkward. But this play in particular really spoke to me because it brings together the kind of two main threads that we are focused on as a company, which is theater in translation, international theater, and queer theater. We have another initiative that we do called Sege Plays, in which we commission LGBTQ artists from the United States to write short plays that are then available to other organizations to use freely as fundraising events or as community building tools. What I would say about this particular play, though, about Antonina, is that the conversation around LGBTQ rights has really moved forward in a significant way because of the war. Because the Ukrainian people, from what I understand, queer rights, gay rights in Ukraine were not at the forefront. They were not progressive. They're a very Catholic country. They were a very religious country, and there wasn't a lot of progress being made on the LGBTQ front there before the war. Now they want to align more with Western civilization, specifically European values, where gay marriage is pretty universally the law now in most of the UN countries. And so they're trying to move away from what Moscow represents and stand on their own as part of Europe. And so having play like this out in the world really helps them send that message that, like, hey, we're growing, we're expanding as a culture, we're becoming more aligned with Western ideals, and a lot of progress has been made on that on the LGBTQ front since the start of the war. Queer people are dying and coming home in body bags just like straight people, and they need visitation rights just like straight people, and there's questions about all of that stuff. So this to me really represents kind of like the new frontier of playwriting in Ukraine right now. I don't know if that answers your question.
Sure. I will say on that the post-Soviet republics, including the Czech Republic, they have not yet moved to legalizing gay marriage. So mostly that's not it's sort of lagged behind. And anyway, that's a whole discussion about why that's the case. Okay. Let's see if we can take a couple of questions from the audience. We're recording.
You, I had the privilege in my early life, in my former life, to be a friend of Helene Weigel, who played Mother Courage, and saw several evenings in the role, and also assisted rehearsals of another play of Brecht. Do you think, besides Mother Courage and what we saw this evening, there is a theater, and I'm also a painter. I'm a painter and a set designer. In painting the same, that war stays taboo for art? That war as a phenomenon that is really unexplained, unexplainable, and so present. As the Greek philosopher said, the father of all things. So my question is, in painting I don't see much besides my teacher Otto Dix, who did a huge painting that with her arm coming out of the soil, that is lost, and he tried to do after again, and it's a mess what we did after, compared to this direct being in war and being an artist. You have le Quatuor de la fin du temps, the composition was made in Auschwitz with self-made instruments. So my question is, war and art is more than ever today unaddressed, or put into a image almost like publicity or what the Frankfurt School calls the culture industry. It becomes a very present thing in the culture that is barbaric, our culture. And what we have now is what we have done.
It's a great question. Yeah, gosh. Cannot believe that you knew her, by the way. That's, wow. It's part of what really spoke to me about this piece. I think, yes, I think we see the conversation now where people talk about, like, Antonina sits with it too. What does it mean to be an artist in this time? What value does it have? What use? in my survival job, I work at the Whitney downtown, so I think we just had our biennial open, so we think a lot about what does it mean to make art right now, and what is it talking about, and what does it reflect? And I think it is something that I feel very strongly is that it's sort of a false argument to debate whether art should be political or can be political, like it inherently is. That's, I think, to not talk about these things in art is a political act. To engage with them, sometimes in a mediocre piece, is still to engage with them, and there's going to be mediocre art about the times that we're in, just as there will be great art and there will be bad art. But art is living in the question. Art is, in a way that feels vital now more than ever, to give people spaces to process these things, structures to process them within. What struck me about this in the lineage with Brecht, and what I have seen in theater recently theater that's really stuck with me, is theater that is aware of itself being theater and shares Brecht's passion for activating their audience, bringing the audience out of being a passive observer, reminding them that they are part of the piece, encouraging them to take something away with them from the theater. That's what I think is so beautiful, especially about the text for theater, is like Antonina is so earnestly saying, like, I want to affect you. I want to change you in some way. I want to be more than just a text that you're listening to. I want you to leave with part of me and take that into the world, the hug, the something that will move something and change something. I think that is like the best of what's possible for us right now. I think especially as theater artists, this piece especially has given me a lot of hope getting to work on this, because I sit with that quite a bit too, in New York, wondering like, what does it mean to be an actor? I'm also a playwright, so it means like, what does it mean to be those things right now? How can I help? What can I do? And I feel like this is an example of something that feels closer to the way forward. For me, at least. It's also so subjective, as Antonina accurately points out. Everybody's got a different idea of what the perfect performance is going to be, or the perfect political art. But I think the trying is always worth it. The not trying, I think, is a larger problem. I hope that sort of spoke to what you're saying, but I think it's a really important question that I hope any artists are really sitting with right now. I think you have to.
I'm also going to very quickly say, so we did a piece by Anna Hollis last year, another Ukrainian piece. She unfortunately recently passed away, but it dealt with war, and I saw her over this summer in Edinburgh, and I said, what are you working on now? And she's like, children's plays, because I can't write about war anymore. And I do think that also serves a purpose. I heard people talking about like being in like, shelters in Mariupol, and like just being full of people coming to a performance because they need that outlet. And it wasn't about what was going on outside. It was, it could be about whatever, or it could be like someone just playing a violin or whatever. So anyway, I think things being about war is a very broad topic.
I think with that kind of theater too, I mean, children's theater is the thing that brought me here, right? I mean, it was my first influence. It's the thing that activated me and intrigued me. I think there are so many ways to like talk about what's happening without these pieces. I feel like are closer to like documentary theater, and that they are very, we are learning a lot of factual, but it can be abstracted, and I still think be incredibly transgressive or activating. And that gives me hope.
Okay, do we have another question? Yes, up in front.
Well, on the subject of theater, could you talk a bit about the Voyage Theater Company and you know, how you run and how you how you participate and find playwrights and actors and all of the the participants in theater.
Sure, thank you. Thanks for the opening. Voyage Theater Company, we recently celebrated our 10th anniversary, but it wasn't really our 10th anniversary. It was more like our 12th. What, it's been like 12 years, Charles? 12 years we've been doing this. And how we find plays, how we find artists that we work with, it's kind of organic. You know, it's a lot of like Lisa and I have known each other for more years than I should probably mention, but the group of artists that we've come to work with and come to know just keeps growing and keeps expanding, and so that part of it feels very organic. What's less organic for us is the money side of it, which is always a struggle. We're constantly, each year, doing fundraising and trying to just get enough money together so we can pay those artists and we can continue doing the work. And so, but I think, to have an evening like this is, for me, the most satisfying part of all of it. Like, this is like a dream scenario for us, to be able to do this work, plays in translation that are a part of this festival, the Rehearsal for Truth Festival, which is, I mean, what a great title. What an amazing thing to be doing in the world. And it just kind of brings it all together for us. So it feels very worth it when what's sitting here at this moment right now. My partners might disagree, but this is exactly what we have intended to do, is to bring together these threads of international theater and queer theater and kind of stitch it all up and be here and be responsive to the current moment. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
We have time for one last question if somebody has one. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. It was a real pleasure to have all of you in a beautiful performance. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.